My life in the suburbs looked picture perfect to anyone looking. A big house with a sprawling backyard, a pristine pool that sparkled under the sun, a hard-working husband, and a 20-year-old son about to graduate college. But behind those closed doors, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. My husband, Mike, spent most of his time at work, and when he was home, he was glued to his phone or the warmth we once shared had turned cold over the years, leaving me feeling invisible in my own marriage. It was a Saturday afternoon in early summer when I first noticed Marcus. He was my son Eric's best friend, a polite, confident young man who had been coming over to hang out for months. I hadn't really paid him much attention before, but that day something shifted. Eric had invited Marcus to swim in our backyard pool. From the kitchen I caught a glimpse of them through the sliding glass door. Marcus stood on the pool's edge, his body glistening with water under the midday sun. His athletic frame was lean yet muscular, his dark skin flawless and smooth. He dove effortlessly into the water, resurfacing with a grin that revealed perfect white teeth. For a moment I couldn't look away. It wasn't just his looks that caught my attention. It was his confidence, the way he carried himself, so different from my husband's distant, tired demeanor. Felt a strange stirring inside me, one I hadn't felt in years. I brushed off the feeling and turned back to the dishes, but my mind kept wandering to him. Over the next few weeks, Marcus spent more time at our house. He and Eric worked out together in our garage, played video games late into the night, and sometimes just lounged by the pool. Each time Marcus was around, I found myself acutely aware of his presence. One afternoon, while Eric ran to the store, Marcus came inside for a drink. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Mrs. Blake, do you mind if I grab some water?" Marcus asked, his deep voice startling me. "Of course, Marcus," I replied, trying to keep my tone casual. "And please call me Amanda." He flashed that charming smile again. "Thanks, Amanda." As he reached for a glass, our hands accidentally brushed. It was a small, fleeting moment, but it sent a jolt through me. Quickly pulled my hand back, hoping he hadn't noticed the hitch in my breath. "Sorry about that," he said with a chuckle. "It's fine," I murmured, my cheeks flushing. After he left the kitchen, I leaned against the counter, trying to calm the racing thoughts in my head. What was happening to me? I was a married woman in my 40s, yet here I was, blushing like a teenager over a boy half my age. Later that evening, I sat by the pool. After everyone had gone to bed, the water shimmered under the moonlight, its gentle ripples mirroring the unrest in my heart. I couldn't deny it anymore. There was something about Marcus that drew me in, something I couldn't explain or control. I told myself it was just a harmless crush, something that would fade with. But deep down I knew better. The way he had looked at me earlier, it wasn't just in my head. There was something unspoken between us, a spark that couldn't be ignored. As the night wore on, I resolved to push these feelings aside. I was a wife, a mother, and I had a family to protect. But even as I made that promise to myself, I couldn't help but wonder, what if I tried to ignore the feelings, to bury them beneath the routine of my daily life? But Marcus made it impossible. His presence filled every corner of my home, his laughter echoing through the walls, his scent lingering long after he had left a room. It was a week after that night by the pool when things began to change. Eric and Marcus were playing basketball in our driveway, shirts tossed aside in the summer heat. I had opened the living room window to let in some air, and their playful banter floated inside. I tried to focus on folding laundry, but my eyes kept drifting to Marcus. When they Finished, Eric ran inside to grab something from his room, leaving Marcus on the porch with a bottle of water. He caught me watching through the window and smiled. It wasn't just a friendly smile, it was knowing like he could see right through me. My heart raced and I quickly looked away, pretending to busy myself with the laundry. "Nice day, isn't it?" Marcus's voice startled me. He was standing just outside the window, leaning casually against the frame. "Yes, it is," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "You should come outside more, Mrs. Blake. Get some sun," he said, his tone light but carrying something I couldn't quite place. "I'm fine right here, but thank you," I said, forcing a smile before turning away. But his words lingered. It wasn't just the suggestion, it was the way he said it, like he was daring me. Later that evening, I found myself alone in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner. Marcus walked in, his footsteps soft on the tile. "Need any help?" he asked, his voice low and smooth. "No, I've got it," I replied, avoiding his gaze. But he didn't leave. Instead, he leaned against the counter, watching me. "You work too hard, you know that?" I paused, the plate in my hand forgotten. No one had said anything like that to me in years. "It's just what I do," I said with a small shrug. "Well, maybe someone should take care of you for a change," he said, locking eyes with mine. My breath caught. There was again that spark, that unspoken tension. I knew I should walk away, say something to end this. But I couldn't. I was frozen, caught in his gaze, like a moth to a flame. Before I could respond, Eric came into the room, breaking the moment. Marcus straightened, his easy smile returning. "Thanks for dinner, Mrs. Blake," he said before walking out with Eric. But his words hung in the air, heavier than I wanted to admit. Marcus stayed behind that night, saying he wasn't much of a baseball fan. I didn't question it. Part of me was relieved he stayed, part of me was unsettled. I was sitting on the couch with a book, though I couldn't focus on a single page. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his tall frame outlined by the dim hallway light. "Mind if I sit with you?" he asked, holding up a glass of water. "Of course," I replied, my voice barely louder than a whisper. He sat beside me, closer than he ever had before. The space between us felt charged, alive with the tension we had been circling for weeks. "You seem nervous," he said quietly. "I'm fine," I lied, though my hands trembled slightly as I turned the page of my book. He reached out gently, taking it from my hands, setting it on the coffee table. "Amanda, you don't have to pretend with me." Hearing him speak my name like that, without the formality, without the mask, sent a shiver down my spine. I turned to face him, my defenses collapsing under the weight of his gaze. "I can't," I whispered, but the words died in my throat. "You can," he answered, his voice calm and firm. "I know you feel it too." And in that instant, I stopped thinking, I stopped worrying about right or wrong, about the fallout that would surely come. I leaned in and he met me halfway. When our lips touched, it was like a dam bursting, weeks of repressed desire flooding out, overwhelming us both. His hands were strong yet tender as they framed my face, pulling me closer. I melted into him, forgetting everything but the way he made me feel. The hours that followed were a haze of passion and guilt. We moved from the couch to the bedroom, where I had spent so many lonely nights, wondering if my husband even noticed me anymore. Now someone finally did, but as the night dragged on, reality crept back and I lay beside Marcus, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts racing. "What have I done? This can't happen again," I whispered, though I didn't believe the words even as I spoke them. "I don't think you mean that," Marcus replied, his voice steady and sure. I turned to face him, searching for even a flicker of doubt, but found none. He brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. "You deserve to feel this, Amanda. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His words soothed my wounded heart, but they couldn't erase the guilt already rooted deep In me over the next weeks, our hidden affair continued. We stole time whenever possible. When Eric was out, when Mike worked late, the secrecy only fueled the fire, but it also left me paranoid. One afternoon as we sat outside, Marcus reached for my hand. I pulled away quickly, my eyes darting toward the house. "Relax," he said with a smirk, "no one's home." "That's not the point," I whispered, glancing at the windows, but it wasn't only fear of being caught that gnawed at me every moment. With him pulled me further from the woman I once was. The first crack in our secret came one evening when Mike found Marcus's hoodie left over a dining chair. "Did Marcus forget this?" he asked casually. "Yes," I blurted, my heart racing. "He must have left it after dinner." Mike raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Still, the moment unsettled me. How long before he asked more questions? The answer came sooner than I hoped. It was a warm Sunday afternoon, the house alive with familiar noise, Eric and Marcus laughing in the yard, Mike flipping channels in the living room, and me pretending all was fine as I set the table for dinner. But nothing was fine. I had crossed a line that couldn't be erased, and the weight of my secret was crushing me. Each time I looked at Mike, guilt twisted in my stomach like a knife. Each time I saw Eric, I felt like the worst mother alive. Marcus caught my eye through the kitchen window, flashing a knowing smile. My heart skipped and I turned away. I had to end this. I had to stop before everything collapsed. But fate had other plans. That evening Mike stepped out to take a call. Eric upstairs showering after their swim, Marcus and I alone in the kitchen, the tension so heavy it was suffocating. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered, my voice shaking. He stepped closer, his hand brushing mine. "You don't mean that?" "I do," I insisted, though my resolve wavered under his stare. "This is wrong, Marcus. It has to stop." Before he could answer, the back door opened and Mike walked in. For a heartbeat I thought we looked composed, but then his eyes narrowed, shifting between Marcus and me. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice sharp. "Nothing," I said quickly, my tone too high to be believable. Mike's gaze froze on me, then shifted to Marcus. "Eric's friend or not?" "You better start talking, kid." Marcus hesitated, but before he could speak, Eric appeared, still damp from his shower. "What's going on?" he asked, scanning our faces. The silence stretched heavy. Then to my horror, Mike turned to Eric. "How well do you even know your friend's son, Dad? What are you saying?" Eric frowned. Mike didn't reply. He looked at me instead, suspicion and betrayal burning in his eyes. "Amanda, is there something you want to tell me?" I opened my mouth, but no words came, the truth clawing its way out. Yet I couldn't say it. It was Marcus who finally spoke. "Mr. Blake, I think you've misunderstood. Don't lie to me," Mike roared, slamming his hand on the counter. Chaos exploded, Eric demanding answers, Marcus stumbling to explain, and Mike's rage turning on me. By the time the storm ended, the truth lay bare. Eric stormed out, his face twisted with shock and fury. Marcus left soon after, his usual confidence shattered into shame. Mike and I remained in silence, the air between us unbearable. "How long?" he asked at last, his voice hollow. I couldn't meet his stare. "A few weeks," I whispered. He laughed bitterly, raking a hand through his hair. "A few weeks with our son's best friend." "God, Amanda, what were you thinking?" "I wasn't," I sobbed, tears burning my face. "I was lonely, Mike. You've been so distant, and don't you dare blame this on me," he snapped. "This was your choice, not mine." He stormed out, leaving me alone with my shame and regret. The aftermath was a nightmare. Eric refused to speak to me, and Mike moved into the guest room. The house felt like a battlefield, every exchange poisoned with anger. Marcus vanished from our lives, and I couldn't blame him. His friendship with Eric destroyed, and my family beyond repair. I spent my days trying to pick up the pieces, but the damage was carved too deep. Trust once broken is nearly impossible to restore. Months later, I'm still paying for my mistake. Mike and I sit in therapy, though it's unclear if our marriage will survive. Eric has started to soften, but the bond Is scarred forever. Marcus has moved on. I saw him once at a coffee shop. We exchanged a brief tense glance before he walked away. I've learned a brutal lesson. A moment of weakness can shatter a lifetime of trust. Life is built on choices, and some choices change everything in an instant. If you want more intense emotional stories like this one, don't forget to like and subscribe. Another tale is always waiting to be told.